Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Kyle on Tuesday, April 30th. This is episode 108, the CJ Cup preview with the Zurich Classic recap. Kyle, last minute audible. It's just you and me tonight. What's going on with our counterpart?
Yeah, Jordan, we got to be careful of any HIPAA violations here, but apparently there might have been a potential tennis entry at a country club tennis match that required his attention. I mean, is that not the most country club thing ever?
It is, but that's not the excuse I got. Uh-oh.
Well, I think they're using both of them, I guess. But what's going on?
All right. Well, no Jordan tonight. So for the listeners, you know what that means. You get a lot of golf talk and a lot less innuendo, and that's just how it's going to be. But I'm excited for the show. I think we got some good stuff dialed up. Maybe we'll just get started. Kyle, you had a guys weekend this past weekend. You said 19 years running last week. 19 years running. You do an NFL draft party somewhere in what seems like the Midwest, and occasionally you go. You did not go to Detroit this year, but tell me about what's the takeaways?
Yeah, it was a good time. We were in on a farm in central Iowa. There was tornadoes all around Friday night. The weather was kind of crazy.
And that wasn't just the NFL draft tornadoes by the Vikings and the Falcons and all that. That was real tornadoes.
Correct. Yeah, so I thought that'd be a good conversation topic related to the NFL draft, right? So for those that didn't see, the Atlanta Falcons at 8 overall took Michael Penix, and this is where we're really missing Jordan here, Jr. When they just signed Minnesota's beloved Captain Kirk Cousins to a 3-year guaranteed contract. So I was trying to come up with what would be the equivalent golf scenario where you already have someone in the chamber. I would equate Kirk Cousins to a Wyndham Clark, perhaps, right? And you take a young person who may be up and coming with difference of opinions on how good and up and coming, and slot them in right behind him. So, scenario I came up with. Let's say we were doing some sort of draft where we just got to play Jay Monahan, right? And we were going to make these teams to go up against each other. So I took Wyndham Clark 7th, 4th, 7th overall, maybe in that general time frame to go up against your squad. But I only get to go one golfer out in that slot at a time. And I followed up my Wyndham Clark selection with somebody who finished 3rd in the Korn Ferry Tour last year.
I mean, I would have thought maybe you'd run Jake Knapp out there, but come on. Phoenix, he's 24 years old. He's a seasoned college vet. Like, this thing is going to work out for Terry Fontenot, and he's going to look like a genius when Kirk ruptures his other Achilles. I don't know. I think that this is all going to be fine.
The best part was, so we like to talk about our Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues on here, at least when Jordan actually shows up. But Sleeper, the app we do our Fantasy Football League on, did send out a tweet did anyone tell the Atlanta Falcons it's not a super flex league? A league you get to play 2 quarterbacks. Thought that was pretty fun.
I don't know. I mean, I figure that Kirk probably felt like he had his sort of retirement planned here. He's going to play for 3 or 4 more years, and now he has to show up and or maybe not. Maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he's like, I'm good riding the pine for the next couple of years in Atlanta. It's guaranteed money.
So I thought I would get a comment on my Wyndham Clark Kirk Cousins comp. Wasn't that
I don't
a good
think
one?
I like Kirk Cousins.
I
don't
do
like Wyndham Clark.
Oh, well, see, I think Kirk Cousins gets more hate than he deserves, and I think he's a perfectly fine quarterback. And the Vikings should have been very happy with him. But I also think Wyndham Clark is a better player than people think. So that was the reason.
That's fair. All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I thought about you and how you were at the draft last year in Kansas City, and then I saw the the overheads in Detroit, it looked absolutely insane. It seemed a lot less fun, and like it looked fun in Detroit, but like having it in like the city streets, just I was really claustrophobic seeing that.
Yeah, there's so many people,
Yeah.
And speaking, unless they change things from Kansas City, your ability to use any facilities or find vendors, like the lines that get a beer and stuff were stupid long. So with that many more people in Detroit, it had to be kind of chaos from that perspective.
Yeah. Well, let me change topics here so that we don't lose people on football. We'll talk a little golf, but latest issue of Golf Digest, I still get the physical copy, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, I do like getting it, but at this point, I've seen all the articles on Instagram, and so it's usually not much of a surprise. But I thought I'd call out a couple of stories that were in here that I got a good kick out of, and I'll use one as a segue. But first of all, they had a little write up on caddy tournaments across the US and primarily at premier clubs, and sort of documenting like this is a really unique opportunity for caddies to sort of flip the script and show off their skills. In some cases, members caddy for them, and in some cases it's a team events, and there's qualifying and all that. And I enjoyed reading it because it really made me think about old Minnetonka Country Club here in the Twin Cities, where I caddied for 5 years as a high school and college student. And at times, honestly, it was like watching Caddyshack with the characters, the lifers and the caddy master. And it was really a fun experience. But they did not document I wish I would have looked up the year now, but what was probably like the 2007 caddy tournament at Minnetonka, where I just wanted to share one piece of it, but I won in a playoff. I won. That was like probably one of my favorite golf tournaments to be a part of.
Wow.
I won in a playoff over a kid that played at Augsburg. So he was a D3 college golfer here locally, and he was a good player. We both shot 2 under for 18 holes, went to a playoff, and there was probably 40 or 50 people, caddies, that had been in the event for the day, walking with us then for 2 playoff holes. And we each, like, someone picked up each of our bags. It was a really cool scene. Gave me definitely some Caddyshack vibes seeing Danny Noonan play the big game against Judge Smales. But we both birdied the first hole, and this is not about talking about the golf tournament, but so I did end up winning on the second hole with a par. I think he hit it in a bunker and ended up making bogey, and I 2-putted my way to win. And I remember seeing the caddy master, who was just such a character, so grumbly. He was like anti-country club, which was so great for this job. And he comes up to me in the parking lot after I've collected all my winnings, and he says to me, "Yeah, Ryan, he really got you today, didn't he?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, I saw he won the long drive and the closest to the pin. What's up with that?" And I said back to him, like, "But I won. I shot 2 under. I won in a playoff." And he was like, but he hits it further than you. And that's my memory. That's my memory of.
He just couldn't let you have the full win, Mike. He
couldn't
just
let me have it.
Just
Such a character. But the caddy tournaments are really fun, because it is a day where, like, all kind of, like, we could use the pool. We had a cookout. We had this big golf tournament. And for all the prestige and stuffiness around this country club in particular, all of that was turned on its head for one day, and it was a super cool experience.
When do you use the pool as part of the day, like after golfing?
I didn't, but that was the deal. Like, after the tournament in the morning, from like 2 to 4, the caddies could use the pool. Honestly, it was like Caddyshack. But I didn't do that because you can't, like, undo things that So. Yeah. Caddy tournaments, cool bit if you've ever been a part of it. The article is kind of fun to read. This was like high-end stuff. These guys are legit players in a lot of the premier clubs. But the other thing, Kyle, that I thought, I'm going to try to fumble around for the article, but Revenge of the Bunkers, right? Revenge of the Bunkers. And this is a whole write-up on the history of sort of golf course architecture and the modernization of gigantic bunkers. I want to show you this picture right here. See that right there? Let that sink in. That's a gigantic. Let me read the caption. No sympathy. Mike Strantz showed little remorse for golfers who missed Tobacco Road's 9th green.
Yeah.
I believe this thing is like 20 feet deep and 1,000,000 miles wide, and I can't wait for you and I to go experience it.
There's a 100% chance I end up in that bunker.
Well, I mean, and how could you just not throw a ball down there just to see what could happen as long as you're keeping up with pace of play? But that's maybe my segue to say, we're like 6 weeks out from the U.S. Open and the big RTG trip.
It's coming. It's coming in hot. I've gotten a little golf in this year. I played 18 down in Texas a week and a half ago. Started out really well, went off the rails towards the end. The weather messed with us this weekend. I only got 9 in, unfortunately. It was a tough course. You could not get off. It was made for that old man 160-yard drive and just keep running it straight up and down. But I don't like where my prep is so far, Mike. What about you?
Well, I texted you earlier today and said that I wouldn't be surprised if, my first round, or certainly like my second or third round, is we tee it up on Wednesday, maybe at UNC Findlay, the UNC golf course. That's what's on my mind right now. That might be my second or third round of the year. I'm not sure. Right now, I'm just getting in 9s at the old local par 3 course. But I've been really happy with some of the golf instruction that I've gotten this spring. And so I hear you've booked a lesson for a couple weeks from now, and I am really excited for you.
I am. First lesson I've ever had. Coming in hot in 2 weeks. Hopefully you can squeeze in a couple more before if it goes well. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I just found a random guy on the internet and I'm gonna go hang out with him for an hour.
I think if you have the right mindset, you can compartmentalize these things and try to like put your golf game on one side and you're learning about the golf swing on the other side, and then you decide how much you want to leverage that when you go out to play. And I know it's really hard, but I know it can't get worse. Not that, I mean that in a good way. Like for most people seeking instruction, like.
So what would be your recommendation on the message when I go in there, right? So I kind of had 2 schools of thought. Like, all right, feel free to tear everything down and try to fix me as much as you can, or like just try to teach me enough that I can stay on the tracks, that if I start losing it, because generally I'm not awful, right? Like I could pick up a lot if I got much better in my short game, as we talked about. I could pick up strokes around the green, but like tee to green, I get sideways a couple times a year, but for the most part, I can somewhat hang. I'm not long, but I can somewhat hang. But so is it like, hey, give me enough direction that if I feel it getting sideways, I can have a couple things to think about to get me back, or is it tear it all down? What's the better way to go?
That's a really good question, because the answer to that usually ends up with, what are your goals at the end of the day and how much time and money are you looking to commit to this process? Like if you want to tear something all down, you then also have to commit to whatever the amount of practice it requires in between getting instruction to be able to do that. And so I generally think for most amateur golfers, myself included, I was a tear it down guy 4 or 5 years ago when I went in to kind of get back into instruction. And I realized that was the wrong answer. What I should have said was, let my swing be my swing, but give me a few things to just work within this so that I don't suck so much. What I think for you is, you don't have any, and I mean this in the nicest way, like you don't have any kind of fundamental knowledge of the golf swing. So even just say, I'm here to learn, and we don't have to tear it all down, but I want to learn about why things happen, might go a long way to just understanding what happens then when you go out and play. So maybe that's one way to think about it, is being open to just understanding the physics of it versus tear this down and give me a PGA Tour golf swing, because that's not what you're there for.
Yeah. And I think and the hard thing, at least in my mind, is in practice, I know what you need to do, but trying to connect that with the
Yeah, your
kinetics
body. I mean, you
of
even
making that happen, it's like
that's what I tell my instructor. I say, I know this is the result, but like, I don't know what that feels like. I don't know how to feel that weight transfer. I don't know what it feels like when it's good. And so that's what I usually am asking him for is, tell me how it's supposed to feel. So I think for you, it should just really be a good learning experience because you haven't done it.
the homemade golf swing, as was it Taylor Montgomery they're giving him a crap for? But see, and I
Yeah,
think
Bubba
that's
Watson, Taylor Montgomery. I mean, it's that's the thing, and that's the thing I think I really turned a corner this year, which is it's not golf. It's not golf swing. It's golf. So don't focus so much on the swing. Just understand the fundamentals of it so that you can play golf.
sure, sure. And I think that's some of the big thing for me too. And I had a lot of bad habits at this time, but I played so much when I was young, not good, but just played a lot. And then very sparingly for 10 to 12 years. During the period of our life, I should have played a lot more. No, that
Yeah,
isn't. Then it's
not
like,
married,
now
no
I got
kids.
kids and all this, and now I'm trying to play a lot more. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited for it. And we'll figure it out. And I think it'll all make sense one way or the other. Uh, Go ahead.
well, I think we should. You teased a little bit. Do you want to give the listeners a general idea
Oh,
of where we're trying to play this week, that week?
yeah, that's I started there. So we're talking about we got 4 rounds booked well, 3 booked and a fourth on the way, but we're headed down to the US Open at Pinehurst in mid-June, playing Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. We'll be out at the tournament on Thursday and then hopefully doing some kind of show down there Thursday night that we can get out to everyone Friday morning. Playing Tobacco Road, I'm really excited about that. We're playing that on Saturday on the way out of town. I feel like that was a must. They definitely jacked up their prices a little bit for US Open week, but you're down there, and I've been down there so much over my life because it's just got some family connection, and so but I've never played Tobacco Road, so I'm super excited about that. I've also never played over at the Mid Pine Needles Resort, so we're gonna play Mid Pines in the morning shotgun on Friday, and then we're gonna go over to Southern Pines Golf Club and play the renovated design over there, which I think people generally like. I think there's maybe a coin flip on is it if you only can pick one, is it Mid Pine or Pine Needles? I see a lot of people go back and forth, but Pine Needles obviously being having the women's open there at least a couple of times, but Southern Pines got the renovation treatment recently, and I think people find it to be like a no doubter. And it's a little less expensive, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm pumped. And hence the reason I need to get the game in a good place, especially for the 36 hole day followed by 18 the next. I just let me keep it on the tracks. That's all I
Well, you
want.
know what's great about the North Carolina golf, especially in that area? There's like no water hazards. There's really no out of bounds. You don't lose golf balls. Like you can easily cow play the whole 4 rounds with the same golf ball because you just go find it in the pine needles and hit it again.
See, I sent you guys a picture that what was it, 2 weeks ago on a nice day. I have some pine trees in the backyard off to one side, and one of the youngins was out there hitting golf balls. So I went over and threw some golf balls in, underneath the pine trees, and just was practicing punching out of the pine needles because I'm sure
I
I'll
think
do that a lot.
you're gonna have some fun with that. All right, let's talk a little beer, and then we'll get to the pro golf here. I'll start with my selection was Junkyard's Werewolves at Luncheon. I just get a kick out of the name of this beer, but what they call Vermont style IPA. So I think it's their imitation of a heady topper or something like that. Sabro, Mosaic, and Citra. Sabro, a polarizing hop, but I think this beer is really good.
That before I recall being a fan. I'm a little limited on this end. I've been traveling a lot the last couple weeks, so a little behind the times on picking up something. But I have a Fair State brewery we do really like, but probably not one of my favorites from them. The Party Forward IPA. It is a hazy IPA. Super fruity, soft, tropical, mainly citra hops. So you would think I would like it, but there's something a little off in uh, the wheat
It's
bill or
average.
something. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just okay. I didn't purchase it. It was just here. So
All right. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Zurich Classic. I'll be honest, this is a classic kind of golf better week. I watched very little of it except for the dramatic finish with Rory and Shane Lowry chasing down the stout Chad Ramey and Martin Trainer. But I did like to bet on it. So it did have my attention, but what do you think about Rory and Shane just ripping away so much lifetime benefit from so many, otherwise deserving players that certainly could have done something with a 2-year exemption on the PGA Tour? Um, Rory and Shane come out of nowhere to just snatch it on 18 and then go and impose their will on the first playoff hole. What are your thoughts? Should they have just duffed one here or there and let the underdogs have it?
Rory's chasing legacy. He wants the W's wherever he gets them, however he gets them. So, I think we talked through this last week on the pod that they were a good GPP style play. So that bared out well. Unfortunately, I did not see the finish. I was in the middle of the rain on the side of a soccer field, which was not fun. Not fun. I saw very little last week, but one of my favorite things I did text about last week was the Joel Bauman hat situation.
Yeah, if you didn't see it, Joel cut the top of his bucket hat off to make a bucket visor, as his partner Keith Mitchell obviously is famous for wearing the visor.
So
I'm glad
that's
you
about as
appreciated
much.
that.
Yeah, that's much about as much value as I had to add,
It,
given the draft festivities and then the soccer watching on Sunday. I did catch some Sunday morning. I don't mind the concept of this event. It's a little bit different. It's something fun. I know some people hate it. I don't really understand that. Like, it's a nice little change up. It just happened to fall on a bad weekend for me. Otherwise, I would have viewed a lot more.
I do think, I mean, I love the idea of having an event like this. It's fun to see who guys play with. I don't think I saw some bits around, hey, should this be blind draw or should it be random pairings? And it's like, no, I like to see guys. It's fine. Like, look, I mean, Shane and Rory win. They're two of the best players in the field, and they win in a playoff over a lot of other randoms crowding the leaderboard on Sunday. So it's amazing what two professional golfers can do when you remove all the really like a lot of the nerves. Like you play with a partner, you always have that backup there, except in the alternate shot. That's kind of nuts. That's why it's like with Ramey and Trainer shooting 63 on Sunday, an alternate shot doesn't really matter who you are, where you're playing. That's insane.
Yeah.
Um, but so it was I think it's a good I think the guys it seems like the guys really like it too. Like it's New Orleans. Everyone always
The
talks about the
singing
dinners. It's
thing,
always about the dinners. It's the scene and the dinners
yeah,
and
it's
the
and this
concerts.
the singing afterwards and how, like, I know some people tried to say like, oh, they're trying to do something with that. They've always done that, right
Yeah.
and so I think
Yeah.
it seems to be a good vibe. There was a tweets out there too about they really take care of the players at this event. They like go
Yeah.
above and beyond with the courtesy staff and stuff like that. So yeah, I like it. Keep it a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to like, do we need more big names in it? If that's what's bothering people, like that's just it's going to be the case 30 weeks out of the year, and we're just going to have to be able to live with that. So I'm supportive of the event, but granted, I tuned in for about an hour on Sunday. A couple of but on the finish though, just really quick before we run through the RTG housekeeping. So it goes to a playoff. Rory and Lowry birdie 18. They're able to tie Trainer and Ramey, who've been sitting in the clubhouse for 3 hours. Keep in mind, they shot 63 when, people are shooting, 2-3 under is a good score in the alternate shot. I think Lowry and McIlroy were in at 69, but so they shot 63. They're sitting in the clubhouse for 3 hours and they come back out. And I don't know. I mean, if you're these guys, you're staring down two of the best players in the world. And I believe Ramey gets up there and third shot into the par five 60 yards out of the rough. It's hardly rough at this golf course, but just a chunk job, just a chunk. And sorry, it was Trainer, because Ramey then had to hit the chip. So Trainer chunks 60-yard shot to 10 yards short of the green. Ramey chips up to 6 feet, and Trainer doesn't even touch the cup. But I got to imagine there's just they suddenly found themselves in a position they did not think they were going to be in on Saturday night.
Oh, for sure. I can't imagine sitting around for 3 hours and then trying to go out and stare down Rory and Shane Lowry. So
yeah. Well, so anyways, listener league for RTG, we had Ness 0163 taking down the top spot, one Camcos in second, and Buke 0215 in third. So good job to the listeners there. The good on the RTG side, I would say lots of good top power index plays, except for the top power index plays. Your favorite guys, Thriston and Aldrich. They missed the cut by a couple of shots, and they were a flyer, and maybe that's I got some thoughts on that for the CJ Cup here, but Aldrich and Thriston do not pay off. And that hurt me in a single entry where I had a pretty good 5 of 6 lineup that placed all right, that they would have made it real good.
Mark Hubbard, though, and Ryan Britton.
You said it. You could do worse than Mark Hubbard, and you could have done worse. They finished, what did they finish? Third, fourth?
I think they ended up third. Yeah. Yeah, right there. We actually had some flirts. We didn't really talk about that this week, but we had some flirts a little bit. In the Calcutta, Dietrich was right up there.
You tell me when Dietrich's in the mix 16 on Sunday, then I'll pay attention. I can't trust that guy.
He's Captain Flirt.
A couple of things here. Top contributor of the week, Al Hunter over at DK Network. His value article, Bream, Hubbard, Justin Lauer, don't call me Lower, Dylan Wu, and Martin Laird and Kevin Streelman all making the cut. And then, actually, take that back. Laird and Streelman did not, but I think the Bream Hubbard play did pay off pretty well. Gutsiest play goes to John Hazelbauer with Ryan Fox and Garrick Higo. Talked about our landmines, Thriston Lawrence and Aldrich. I only wrote down Poltergeist. I don't even know his last name. Thanks for putting that in here. And then I would say one and done. Kyle, we didn't do one and done this week, so I guess we get to move on.
Correct. Yeah. No one and done, but everyone remember to get back in the habit here. You got to get it in this week.
I will comment on Survivor Reloaded because we talked about this last week. And in Survivor Reloaded, you could pick 2 players from the same team. And I took Cantlay Shoffley, which they make the cut. Obviously, it was the right decision. They were maybe a little bit of a sweat on Friday for a while, but they turned it on the alternate shot and no problem. So 42 people left in Survivor Reloaded.
How many people did Sahith and Willie Z take down?
I do not have that available. I think pretty significant though, because there was 40 some people missed. So there were 80 going into the event, and now we're down to 42, 43. The one I really wanted was Kitayama and Morikawa, who were sitting on the cut line at -8 like the whole day Friday. And the cut was, all it was going to take was a Daniel Berger birdie on 18 to move it to -9, and that would have done some serious damage, but did not.
But it's a good reminder why we don't get cute. Take the studs and survive in advance.
Take the studs. We'll get to that here for the CJ Cup, the newly minted CJ Cup, which moves from the Summit Club in Las Vegas in November and takes over the AT&T sponsorship at TPC Craig Ranch in McKinney, Texas. Last year, Jason Day won this event. I believe that was his first win in something like 5 years after having two-time defending champ, sexiest man alive, K.H. Lee, winning at Craig Ranch. We're back to, Kyle, what you told me, and I did not realize, is the first full field event in 5 weeks on the PGA Tour. So welcome to the new structure of professional golf, which you can go actually 5 weeks without a full field individual event with a cut. But I welcome that. And however, TPC Craig Ranch, this is the 4th year we're seeing an event here, and you have some takes on the golf course.
Yeah, I mean, it's a yawn, right? I would say, and don't get me wrong, I'm interested by architecture, but I'm not one of those architectural bros yet. But it's kind of a boring course, right? It is bombs away. It's easy scoring, big boring greens. It's a birdie fest, according to Rick Run Good last year. Uh, it had the most birdies. Total birdies was the best correlation to success. So you just need to fill up the cup. There's a lot of approach shots from over 200 yards, but they're easy approaches. There's not much danger. You're just you can put it on the green. Distance helps, but even though it's a 7,400-yard course, it's not a must. What I like as the best comp is probably Mexico Open. It's kind
Which
of a
no one
boring
likes that golf
course.
course either.
Yeah. It just doesn't do a lot. It's just kind of a boring ho-hum course that it's kind of unfortunate because, like you said, it's the first full field event and the only one we're gonna have to, like you said, in a 5 week span, because you go back to the Masters and then we had the team event, we had no cut events, we got another no cut event next week, so it's the only one we have in a 5 week span. But because of that, I am still excited about it because give me full field golf, give me full cut golf.
As a golf bettor, these are the types of things you should like because you know you're going to get kind of a bunch of weirdness this week. And it's all going to be about finding those leverage plays to pair with some of the guys that you think are going to be slam dunk locks here. I also think with this golf course, I mean, it's fairly new. You're in the Dallas area, a golf hotbed, Frisco, right there. Like this is kind of where a lot of PGA professional golf is. And so, it's a golf course that can accommodate a pro event and that's, they can't all be winners, just like if you're taking a professional event out to Bolingbrook, Illinois, they can't all be winners. And so I don't know, Kyle, what's you do? Would you rather have it see the guys play at Craig Ranch or would you just rather see them play at Bolingbrook Golf Club?
I can't say I know a lot about Bolingbrook Golf Club, but I did enjoy the discourse on Twitter today about the other event or the other, I don't even know what it's called anymore. The other thing going to Bolingbrook Golf Club. So
Liv will be hosting their individual championship, which I didn't know was a thing. We'll be hosting it at Bolingbrook Golf Club, where the Twitterverse was quick to point out that you could play at Bolingbrook for $60, and the greens would probably run at about 7 or 8. And this was nowhere near a pro test. However, it does have an island green as sort of its big marketing feature, which got me thinking, is there like a $60 or $70 course around Minneapolis that you would just be interesting to see professionals show up at, and what that would result in? I had one that came to mind that would just be excellent for Liv to be marketing, but I don't know if you have thoughts.
so I was thought you might go here on this. So I'm curious on yours first, actually. So
It'd be fun if we had the same one. You know what it is for me? I don't know if you've played here. I've played here a lot in my life, and whether it was both tournaments and corporate events, Stonebrook Golf Club in Shakopee. Is that what you thought I was going to say?
So it's funny you brought up it's the way you cued it for me. So I had another one ready, but when you brought up the quirkiness, I actually played in Stonebrook last year. So yes.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So tell
hated Stonebrook
everyone
as a
about
kid.
Stonebrook.
I hated Stonebrook as a kid. It's kind of one of these, like, it's not. I've grown to appreciate it. The quirkiness of it, like, I think the selling point, frankly, is on the 8th hole, which is a short par 4, with sort of an angled approach into the fairway over a body of water, and then a short wedge up to the green to the right. you have to take a pontoon boat from the tee box to cross the lake, which is about a 200-yard carry. And so a pontoon driver, and it's big enough for your golf carts. So you drive your golf carts onto the pontoon. Pontoon driver drives you 200 yards across. He's got beer in coolers on the pontoon, drops you off, and then he goes back to the tee to get to the next group. And this just happens all day long because it's a thing. How great would that be for Live? They would have like a flotation grandstand on the lake, kind of watching the shots up the fairway. It'd be epic.
They would have a huge flotilla out there. They probably, though, I mean, they're all about the quirkiness. You wouldn't be able to take the pontoon across. They would have like the kids' lily pad things, and the golfers would have to like try to hop like all the way
like
across.
ninja. Yeah. It's that's the thing. I was like Stonebrook. I could play it for $75.
I hit a great tee shot out there though, and on that hole, it's like a 220 carry, I believe.
Yeah,
because I was a little nervous.
It's not bad. Yeah. So anyways, Bolingbrook, look it up.
Yeah, Stonebrook, $65 in the summer. That is a great. That is probably the best comp. I was going too high at first. The first place my mind went was Rush Creek, but that's way too expensive for.
And Rush Creek is nice.
Yeah. You're right.
Like
Stonebrook is 100% it.
Okay. All right. Well, let's pull. I sent us there. Let's pull us back. You told us what gets it done at TPC Craig Ranch. So now, who do our top follows like this week as we think about the CJ Cup?
We got some people snoozing on us a little bit, I think, and trying to get their content out this week because they maybe are not as excited about TPC Craig Ranch either. But so far, at the top of the way in the model, we have 4 golfers at 32% mention share. Justin Lauer, Mark Hubbard, Peter Quest, who is getting a lot of love in the betting world, by the way, and Steven Yeager. So we have a little spread there on salary, 7,500 on Justin and Peter, 8,100 on Hubbard, and 9,200 on Steven Yeager. So far, the MPI likes Hubbard the best. He's coming in at 80. We have Jeff Ulrich on him, Landon Selinsky over DK Nation, to name a few. And then behind them, we have 4 others coming in at 25% mention share. I'll just rattle some of those off because I'm sure we'll talk about them more. Adam Shank, Benny On, Jordan Spieth, and Tommy Tables, Mike. Tommy Tables.
Should we start with Peter Quest? I mean, I think I texted you a couple weeks ago about why I saw Peter Quest flashing at like 10% ownership in a tournament that he had no business flashing in. Turns out it was an error on Rick Rungood's side, and then he ended up playing all right. I think that was back at the Valero. But Peter Quest, 10th at the Valero, 9th at the Punta Cana. Prior to that, he had missed 3 cuts on the Corn Ferry Tour. He finished 14th here last year. I think for a hot minute, he was kind of in the mix on Friday, Saturday. I don't know. $7,500 for Peter Quest in this event. I kind of like him at $6,800. And so while he's got one good year here and a couple of good and some good play recently, I would say maybe a little overpriced.
100% with you on that. You mentioned the Corn Ferry struggles. And this isn't
4 missed cuts in a row. I misspoke.
Yeah, this is this year, right? So the Bahamas in January, missed cut. Something called Winding Bay, also in the Bahamas, January, 47th. Panama, Australia, Argentina, Chile, cut. That was all through February, March. And then, yes, he was good at Valero and good at Punta Cana. I'm 100% with you, Mike. I think you're on something.
And not at 10%, like 10%, $7,500. Like I'm fine with Peter Quest at $6,800 and 4%, but this just feels like I'm willing to be burned by Peter Quest at the CJ Cup.
I think that's a great call.
Other guys on my mind, I mean, we talked a little bit pre-pod about Jordan Spieth. He with Will Zalatoris, right? Will Zalatoris is out for this week, so that means that Spieth is probably going to pull a ton of the ownership. And the question is whether or not you think Spieth is a birdie fest guy. Like I don't mind the golf course. He's driving it great. He's putting pretty well. Feels like a good time to get right. He hasn't been, he's been really up and down, but I don't know. I don't see Jordan Spieth shooting 28 under and winning this golf tournament.
I have a hard time clicking or typing Jordan Spieth's name in anything right now. So I definitely have my hesitations there as well. Some guys I do like. I think Justin Bauer, don't call me lower, is a decent play. We talked about the Mexico comp. He's T3 there. Jeff Ulrich's on him. John Halsebauer, he's leading the way so far in that upper share, mention share, and I think he'll continue to stay there. So I'm very intrigued by Justin. I like Alex Noren. He's in the next group down so far, 9,500. 18% mention share, but he's pretty strong on our MPI at this point in time. He has not missed a cut since the Fortinet last fall. So if you're looking for just a consistent floor type play, I think you can do a lot worse than Noren. T23 at Putacana, which is actually one of his worst finishes recently. He was 14th at Valero, 11th at Houston, 19th at the Players, and 9th at the Cognizant. And been solid across the board, really. The weeks he hasn't popped as high has been his putter failing him, but otherwise he's just been a steady, consistent player. And there's not many in this field, so that's something that intrigues me this week. Before we get to my bombs, Mike, who else do you like up top?
What else? This is it never seems to pay off for me when I want to go tables when the industry is on tables, Tommy tables that is. But Tom Hoagie, $9,100. He is obviously a lot. This is not in Fort Worth, but a lot is made of. He's a TCU grad. He's familiar with the area. It's kind of like a hometown game. Yeah, he missed the cut with Mav at the Zurich, but 18th, 14th, 54th, 12th, 8th, 17th, 6th. He's had a really good spring. Hasn't missed a cut since the Sony Open. I like Tom this week. He's obviously hitting the ball very well and putting well, and so I would look at 9,100. Feels a little pricey for Tommy, but I could see him as a second guy in. And then I also am interested in, we talked a little bit about the sort of Korean PGA Tour presence in the Dallas area. This is an area where a lot of those guys tend to make their US homes. One guy who doesn't make his home here, I believe he is based in Atlanta, or at least he was as a couple years ago after previously being the PGA Tour nomad. I kind of like a guy that's coming off of a win last week that maybe a lot of people didn't realize at something called the Rory Financial Group Championship. But Sungjae Im, who's been really kind of awful this year, but you get him 12th at the RBC and then comes off a win on the Korean Tour. I don't know, 9,700 feels a little steep for Sungjae this week, but he's got to come back to life at some point.
What event was that, Mike?
The Rory? I can't say it. WOORI Financial Group Championship. It's a win, He's got vibes. He's got vibes coming in.
Good little nugget there. I like it. Last two guys I'm going to highlight. Kevin Doherty's only 6,400, but so far the MPI loves him because Matt Gannon and Coughlin from In Between Media are on him. We like the cheap plays that Gannon's been able to elevate for us every week. So I will have my eye on Mr. Doherty. And then the other one I wanted to kind of workshop a little bit is Adam Scott. 9,600, only 12.5% on the mention share so far, and not some of our high-end contributors, but not super on the low side either. And it just he really pops when you try to run a model based on some of the inputs we've talked about, some of the distance, the birdie fest, the big boring greens, all that. And he's got great form. 22nd at the Masters, 14th Valero. He did miss the cut at the API, but before that, he was 8th at Phoenix Open and had a good fall. I don't really see this kind of course as a fit for Scott, which is funny that he pops in some of the modeling. So I'm not 100% sure what I want to do there yet. Do you have any thoughts, Mike?
Adam Scott, it's been documented that he's having arguably one of his best seasons in recent history. I don't know. I mean, when he finished 8th here last year, 32nd the year before, like he's got good course history. I don't know. For me, it's more about price, and I feel the same way about Sungjae. It's like I love buying into these guys in the mid to high 8Ks. I don't love buying into them in the 9Ks, especially when you've now lost 20% ownership on Will Zalatoris. Is that just going to push this thing down at 18% for 19% for Adam Scott, and maybe Sungjae 13%? I don't know. I probably won't be there. I'm probably going to be stuck picking. I know I have the questions on Spieth, and maybe that's. I don't know. I haven't done but I think I'm going to be skipping a lot of the 9Ks, to be honest. I know I threw out Sungjae. Maybe he's my lone guy, but I'm probably skipping a lot of the 9Ks.
Fair enough. Shall we?
Right. Yeah. What do you got dialed up?
Well, do you want to workshop the eliminator quick?
Yeah, the Survivor Reloaded. I got to pick two, and I threw a placeholder in there with Spieth and Zalatoris. I will say that I recently updated to Spieth and Jaeger. And I think the hard thing here is I don't need guys to win. I just need guys to play all right. And I don't see a lot of we talked about it, stud until you get far enough into this thing. There aren't a lot of studs for me to take.
No, I think this is probably going to be one of the hardest weeks there is until you get to maybe like the 3.
I mean, Jaeger's a cut making machine, and I'm okay. I can sleep on that. Like he's a guy. He should set a pretty high floor. Maybe it's tables, maybe it's Hoagie and Jaeger.
So I wrote down 5 guys
okay.
in 2 separate sections. So I think Noren. So the 5 I think are considerations are Noren, Jaeger, Siwoo, Mitchell, and Hoagie. I don't think I would.
Don't mess with Spieth.
I'd be scared to click Spieth. Because I think people will. So if you can somehow dodge that broken, but
yeah,
I mean,
he
missed the cut at Valspar. He missed the cut the Masters. He missed the cut the Players, and he's been. You look at his approach. He played really well at the Valero. So maybe, hey, we're back in Texas. Maybe that's what he needs. But he gained 4 strokes on approach there. Outside of that, he has not gained more than 0.1 strokes on approach all the way back to Pebble Beach. Which it's like, how is he getting it done? He's doing okay off the tee and putting okay, which I guess could play here. So I don't know. I'm scared on Spieth.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you gave 5 other pretty high floor plays. Keith is the one that probably makes a lot of sense, because I made the point that he hasn't lost strokes ball striking in an event since the Sanderson Farms last fall. So you want to talk about setting a high floor, you got to bet on a guy that can't be negative on approach and off the tee.
Yeah, so you're right. My only hesitation with Keith is the whole Calcutta thing. Right, we already got to win if he does well, but there's a little difference here. Tables, to your point earlier, seems to you want to play Tommy when no one else is.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I would be a little scared there. So if I had to gun to my head pick someone now, I'd probably go Noren Jaeger.
Yeah, I think you're
Alex
right.
Noren, as I mentioned, has not missed a cut since Fournette, and before that, you have to go back to the Genesis. I did not look how he has played here. If he has course history here, I don't know about that, so that's something I would check on. But I mean, he hasn't even flirted with a cut.
He does, yeah. 12th and 21st, 2022
Yeah.
and 2021 did not play last year.
So I think I like Nordenjaeger. If I had to, if we didn't have the other baggage with Mitchell, I do think that's a great play too.
Well, that's why we workshop it. Something we don't workshop is the name game. And when you tell me, don't look at my prep, I get really excited.
So, something changed in our prep here, Mike. So that the salaries don't seem to be looking up for me anymore. They were there earlier, so I don't know what's happened, but I can go with the pivot. So Mike, this week,
I know it's just sorry. I'll fix it here while you set it up.
It's because Will was out of the field. Yeah.
Nope. It's just the names are not written or need to be adjusted. Keep going.
Oh, they were right before. All right. So we have the CJ Cup. So we already talked about the Korean connection to the CJ Cup because CJ is a Korean company as well. So maybe that's why they decided to step in and sponsor this event. So we have our teams this week have an individual with their first or last name starts with a C, their first or last name starts with a J, and somebody of Korean lineage to make a three-man team. So Mike had to jump in real briefly and fix a cell for me. But Jordan requested we go by nicknames this week. And I really wish Jordan was here for this. So the options, the team nicknames are CJ-Kim 1, CJ-Kim 2, CJ-Kim 3, or CJ-M.
So
those are your 4 teams.
Would you say CJ-M?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm basically picking. I got a team that probably has Siwoo, Michael, or Chan, and then a team with Sungjae.
Plot twist, though, the team with CJ-M also has a Kim. So.
All right. Yeah, I guess I got SH Kim in the field as well.
So who goes first this week?
Is the draft order in there?
Draft.
It
Mike.
Looks like it's me.
Mike.
I finished first. I'm not looking. But I already talked up my guy Sungjae, so I'll make it easy and I'll just take CJ-M.
All right. Team CJ-M. It's Chan Kim, Jacob Bridgman, so CJ, and then Sungjae M.
Bridgman, all right last week with Chandler Phillips. He helped me out in a lineup, but I don't know.
So they're 24-3. Everyone is between 23-6 and 24-4. So that's the second most expensive team. Mike, since you're the only other one here, who are you going to give the listeners? CJ-Kim 1, CJ-Kim 2, or CJ-Kim 3?
I think it's got to be 1.
So 1 is Chad Ramey, Jake Knapp, CJ, and then Tom Kim.
Okay, so you get the guy that played great in Mexico and the guy that played great last week. I just gave the listeners the win.
And Tom, I mean, who lives in the Dallas area, but another guy after his first year in the league, I can just never get it right. So next would be Jordan. So you guys, since I can see the teams, you have to pick 2 or 3.
Shoot, Jordan's a team 4 kind of guy. I'm going to give him CJ-Kim 3.
That would be CT Pun, Steven Yeager, and SH Kim.
I realize these are now not in order. Team 1 was actually CJ-Kim 3. Wow.
Yeah, see, I had to keep everyone on their toes. So the CJ there, CT Yeager, and then SH Kim, and that leaves me Chesson Hadley, Justin Lauer, and Siwoo for CJ-Kim 2.
All right, good stuff. I really I like that one, but like to the point, like this week is wide open. This week was like the top of the salary board in DFS is fairly uninspiring, and so good week for a couple of diamonds in the rough, I think.
I agree.
All right,
So
Kyle, anything else? I mean, you got bets. You got bets on the CJ Cup. They even let you do that. You just in Iowa.
I almost set it out, but I decided at the last minute, when in Rome, right? Or Iowa. So I kind of wavered on what to do here. I did go a little bit more up board than I initially expected to. I thought about just going all bombs, but I do have Alex Noren and Steven Yeager in the 20s, 22 and 25, for a couple of units on each. And then from the longer shot standpoint, Kevin Yu, who seems to be an industry play this week, I jumped in there. And then Chan Kim, both in the hundreds for a partial unit. So just going light, just staying there. I also got them in a first round leader. So give me Kevin Roof first round leader, and then Nori can win, and we're all happy, right?
I don't remember who the follow was. You commented at the beginning of the year. Maybe it was Smiley Kaufman, who said that he had picked a couple of winners, a couple of first-time winners, and he had Jake Knapp as one of them, and Chan Kim was the other at the beginning of the year. And I know Chan Kim has popped a couple of times. This feels like no one, the hardcores wouldn't be surprised if Chan Kim was flirting near the top this week. He's played well enough this year. I like that play.
I just tried to find someone up there that I thought had decent odds. So yeah, let's go. Let's go, Chan.
All right. Well, with that, we'll wrap up our preview of the CJ Cup. I hope there's some fireworks this weekend. I hope there's something worth tuning into on Sunday. But even if not, we'll be back in a week with the results of the CJ Cup. And of course, you can find our results on our content on our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, and follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. Of course, do podcasts out every Wednesday morning on every podcast platform. Next week, we'll have the Wells Fargo, which, Kyle, you mentioned we're back to no-cut PGA Tour signature event golf, but you also have something called the Myrtle Beach Championship, where now they actually invite content creators to try to qualify for spots, and even when they don't qualify, like George Bryan, they give them a sponsor invite anyways. So something to talk about next week. See ya.
I don't even know what you're talking about there. I missed that.
And I wrote down a funny joke and I didn't read it. And then the last part was going to be, Kyle, you have a chance. Yeah, you didn't see this. They had a special Monday, like a special queue for the Myrtle Beach Championship, and it was 8. I forgot how they picked the 8 pros, and then 8 top content creators.
Just so like trick shot people, or what?
Well, it was like Grant Horvat and George Bryan, and I don't know if there's some
people are. Am I supposed to?
They're like YouTuber. They're YouTuber. I don't know. They're YouTubers. They're like golf, I don't think they had any of the like good. Like I don't know if any of the good guys. Grant Horvat might have. They're just like influencers. George Bryan is Wesley Bryan's brother.
Louisiana, not Louisiana, LA, the Mexican dude that was hot for a minute that just screams at
Manuelo.
You. Yeah.